Sir, he said, you have made a mistake, you have given me gold. I know it. The concierge looked upon the Count with surprise. Sir, he cried, scarcely able to believe his good fortune. Sir, I cannot understand your generosity. Oh, it is very simple, my good fellow, I have been a sailor, and your story touched me more than it would others. Then, sir, since you are so liberal, I ought to offer you something. What have you to offer to me, my friend? Shells? Straw work? Thank you. No, sir, neither of those, something connected with this story. Really? What is it? Listen, said the guide, I said to myself, something is always left in a cell inhabited by one prisoner for 15 years, so I began to sound the wall. Ah, cried Monte Cristo, remembering the abbé's 2 hiding places. After some search, I found that the floor gave a hollow sound near the head of the bed, and at the hearth. Yes, said the Count, yes. I raised the stones, and found a rope ladder and some tools? How do you know that? Asked the guide in astonishment. I do not know, I only guess it, because that sort of thing is generally found in prisoners' cells. Yes, sir, a rope ladder and tools. And have you them yet? No, sir, I sold them to visitors, who considered them great curiosities, but I have still something left. What is it? Asked the Count, impatiently. A sort of book, written upon strips of cloth. Go and fetch it, my good fellow, and if it be what I hope, you will do well. I will run for it, sir, and the guide went out. Then the Count knelt down by the side of the bed, which death had converted into an altar. Oh, second Father, he exclaimed, thou who hast given me liberty, knowledge, riches, thou who, like beings of a superior order to ourselves, couldst understand the science of good and evil, if in the depths of the tomb there still remains something within us which can respond to the voice of those who are left on earth, if after death the soul ever revisit the places where we have lived and suffered, then, noble heart, sublime soul, then I conjure thee by the paternal love thou didst bear me, by the filial obedience I vowed to thee, grant me some sign, some revelation. Remove from me the remains of doubt, which, if it change not to conviction, must become remorse. The Count bowed his head, and clasped his hands together. "Here, sir," said a voice behind him. Monte Cristo shuddered, and arose. The concierge held out the strips of cloth upon which the Abbé Faria had spread the riches of his mind. The manuscript was the great work by the Abbé Faria upon the kingdoms of Italy. The Count seized it hastily, his eyes immediately fell upon the epigraph, and he read, "Thou shalt tear out the dragon's teeth, and shall trample the lions under foot, saith the Lord." "Ah," he exclaimed, "here is my answer. Thanks, Father, thanks." And feeling in his pocket, he took thence a small pocket-book, which contained 10 banknotes, each of 1,000 francs. "Here," he said, "take this pocket-book. Do you give it to me?" "Yes, but only on condition that you will not open it till I am gone," and placing in his breast the treasure he had just found, which was more valuable to him than the richest jewel, he rushed out of the corridor, and reaching his boat, cried, "To Marseille." Then, as he departed, he fixed his eyes upon the gloomy prison. "Woe," he cried, "to those who confined me in that wretched prison, and woe to those who forgot that I was there." As he repassed the Catalans, the Count turned around and burying his head in his cloak murmured the name of a woman. The victory was complete, twice he had overcome his doubts. The name he pronounced, in a voice of tenderness, amounting almost to love, was that of Haiti. On landing, the Count turned towards the cemetery, where he felt sure of finding Morel. He, too, 10 years ago, had piously sought out a tomb, and sought it vainly. He, who returned to France with millions, had been unable to find the grave of his father, who had perished from hunger. Morel had indeed placed a cross over the spot, but it had fallen down and the grave digger had burned it, as he did all the old wood in the churchyard. The worthy merchant had been more fortunate. Dying in the arms of his children, he had been by them laid by the side of his wife, who had preceded him in eternity by 2 years. Two large slabs of marble, on which were inscribed their names, were placed on either side of a little enclosure, railed in, and shaded by 4 cypress trees. Morel was leaning against one of these, mechanically fixing his eyes on the graves. His grief was so profound that he was nearly unconscious. "Maximilian," said the Count, "you should not look on the graves, but there," and he pointed upwards. "The dead are everywhere," said Morel. "Did you not yourself tell me so as we left Paris?" "Maximilian," said the Count, "you asked me during the journey to allow you to remain some days at Marseille. Do you still wish to do so?" "I have no wishes, Count, only I fancy I could pass the time less painfully here than anywhere else." "So much the better, for I must leave you, but I carry your word with me, do I not?" "Ah, Count, I shall forget it." "No, you will not forget it, because you are a man of honor, Morel, because you have taken an oath, and are about to do so again."